Words are about to be spoken on the extreme life of Matt Hardy, presented to you by the ad-free shows Podcast Heat and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm John Alba. That right there, that's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself. Jeez, okay. Mr. Matt Hardy, your appetite is out of this world here this morning.
Yes, my appetite cannot be quenched. How you doing, man?
Loaded question, but I'm happy to be back here taping the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy with you. We had an awesome live show in Indianapolis last week.
Fantastic.
If you're listening to this, it's been a week after that. You're going to get a chance to hear that show in a few weeks here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast feed. But it was a Hardy party in Indianapolis, and we talked all things about the secret sauces of the Royal Rumble and Royal Rumble 2000, the tag team table match. What do you think of our live event there over in Indianapolis at WrestleCon?
I thought it was great, man. It was such a blast. It was so fun chatting about Royal Rumble 2000, talking about the first ever iconic now tag team tables match versus the Duds. A really, really good time. And I got to tell you, man, we had an insane line that following day on Saturday. And there were so many people. There were over a dozen people, I'd maybe say close to 20, that came through and were super complimentary about the podcast, how much they loved it, how insightful it was, how much they learned. And then also they talked about Jeff's show, how much they really enjoyed the concert. So the Hardy Party was a big hit in Indianapolis, and I love to see it.
Yeah, the Hardys were a big hit in Indianapolis. Joe Hendry was a huge hit in Indianapolis. We'll get to him in a second. Sting was a big hit over at WrestleCon too. TNA's back, baby. Everything's on top of the world.
TNA, we're back. We're back. And I do want to send this out real quick. Saturday when we were there were people. We started at 9:30. Technically, the event started at 10. They let in some VIPs earlier, right? So we started at 9:30, and we were supposed to go till 3 o'clock. And then we had signed already past 3, and we saw there was a long line, and we had a flight, that was at 5:40-ish. I want to say 5:40, 5:42. And we knew we had to be out a couple hours before that, just depending, considering how far the airport was and the check-in and everything else. So we got to that point, and we had a drop dead time of 3:45, and we realized we weren't going to finish at 3:45, about 3:30, 3:35. And we're like, man, what are we going to do? And Tony is the guy who books us. He's just like, he said, do you want to see if we can change your flight? Do whatever. And Jeff said, I think we should. He said, if we can get on another flight, I think we should do it. These people, they've been waiting for 4 or 5 hours to meet us. And I would love to, I said, let's do it. Let's see what we can do. They dug it up. There was a little flight we could take later. We could get on at 7 o'clock and get back in. So we were thankfully able to do that. But I want to thank everyone that got in that line and were standing in line from like 10 o'clock on to wait until 3:30, 4 o'clock, 4:30 to meet myself and Jeff. It means the world to us that there were people that waited in that line for 5 hours. And it's really important to us that we make everyone happy, and we give everyone the experience of meeting myself and Jeff, interacting with us, taking a photo with us, getting an autograph, or whatever it is you want. That's really important to us. It's paramount to us. So we're glad we're able to do it, and we're glad it worked out. And fingers crossed, we got home on time and we got back to our families. So it was a good day had ball. Thank you all so much who waited in that line and who came out to see Matt and Jeff Hardy. We love you and appreciate you.
It's always great seeing the Hardys rocking and rolling with fans, because you give them a one-of-a-kind experience. And I know that all those fans really appreciate it. It's awesome to see you guys just standing on top of the world still here in 2025. And the Hardys are over like Rover these days in the professional wrestling world. And man, you guys showed up in a WWE project this past week too, dropped on YouTube. Why don't you give us a little insight on that? How'd that come to be?
Yeah, this was we actually recorded this SummerSlam of 2024 weekend. We had some WWE people reach out to us, and they asked if we'd be interested in doing some content. They had some things in mind. This was one of the projects. This was the main project that we did, this retrospective. And then we recorded a couple other things for their social media. So there are a couple other things that could drop at any time, but we have stayed in contact since then. And I know there's a couple other projects we're talking about doing together. And, especially with this partnership going on right now, I know we have talked to some people, and the Hardys are definitely an act I don't want to say it's a fact, but they're an act you will see show up at some point. And I think it's going to be really interesting going forth because we are like WWE legacy acts. So it's going to be there's a lot of intriguing scenarios we can find ourselves in, and some of the stuff that I've kind of got wind of, I'm really interested in, and I think the future is going to be very, very exciting for both TNA and WWE.
Yeah, you made a comment at our live show that people will hear on this podcast in a few weeks that caught a lot of people's attention when you perked their ears up when you said it. So there's definitely going to be some anticipation as to what could happen in the extreme life of Matt Hardy with the Hardy Boys and WWE. But I know you're very happy with everything you're doing in TNA right now. Got a bunch of big tapings coming up this month. It should be a fun time all around to see how all of that unfolds. But of course, this was a very busy weekend, and we will get into the Royal Rumble because that's going to lead us into our main topic, which is the Usos, spearheaded, of course, by Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. But before we get into that realm, Matt, you and I were just spitballing before here, and you mentioned you really dug what you saw from Toni Storm this week on AEW Dynamite. I had pitched to you months ago that this amnesia thing, I kind of thought she was portraying Toni Storm. That's exactly what it turned out to be. And now she does that for Mariah May. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, you nailed it. Kudos. I saw the social media clip. I didn't see the entire segment. The thing that I saw, just her look was fantastic. How she mirrored her hair, her makeup, her mannerisms. It was great. Very, very good stuff. And AEW needs more stuff like that, in my opinion. I think that is great for AEW. I got to see about the first hour of AEW. I loved how they started the show hot with Switchblade Jay White being interviewed, and then here comes the Death Rider showing up, and then here's Cope and FTR to fight them, and that's how the show starts hot. And they fight into the arena, and there's a battle, and then out, and he gets challenged by Cope, and he says no, and then they rolled into another thing, a match. It had a good flow to it, and it felt super entertaining, and I think that's something they need. Sometimes AEW just goes too heavy on just like straightforward wrestling, and I think for them to grow and to gain casual fans, to get more eyeballs on their product, I do think they are going to have to appeal to some of those casual fans. I was online on the internet the other day, and they're going, the IWC is the same people that are in the arena. It's the exact same audience. And I was going, no, it's not. The diehard people that are online, I would guess 20, 25 at most, are in that arena. There's a ton of people that just like watch it on TV, that just like follow WWE stuff, and that is it, especially in a WWE crowd. There are times where rumors get out and they kind of know what's going on. There's been a couple times in history I can think about scenarios like that. But just like the IWC always overplays how important they are or how far their reach is when they're sitting in those live arenas. The best barometer of any act in any of pro wrestling, whether it is WWE, AEW, or TNA, is how the fans that bought tickets that are in the arena, how they react to your acts. That's how you know if someone is over or not.
Yeah. I mean, I generally agree with that. I don't think there's one right or wrong way to do this. Like, I don't think it's you need this to get casual eyes and that will change things, because there's going to be a large group of a fan base that, and I see it all the time in my own Patreon. Even I have some people in my Patreon and WrestlingAccordingToAlba.com. We had a big spirited discussion this week about the Royal Rumble. We were reviewing the show and we're talking, and one person in there is like, I loved all these stare down moments in the Royal Rumble where you just got to see all this lore and there wasn't any action happening. And it was just people staring and teasing what could come. And then I had someone else who was like, absolutely not. I come to see storytelling through the wrestling and seeing that leverage and propel stories forward. So people look for different things in pro wrestling. Like when you watch basketball, there are going to be things that you enjoy that someone else may not enjoy about the game. You may enjoy great defense, but someone else is like, dude, I just want to see people dunk. I want to see Vince Carter slam one home. There you go, a little UNC thing for you. Okay. I want to see 3-point shots. So I don't know, Matt, if there truly is a one size fits all. This is what you do to get more eyes. I just think it's a little more broad than that.
I just think that the people, when you're online and you're on the internet, and I would imagine all the people that are in your, Wrestling According to Alba, they're probably online. They probably follow everything. They keep up with everything. I mean, they're not talking to general fans. You know what I mean? Like, and still at the end of the day, the casual general fan, that is the majority, and those are the people you need to bring in. Like, just the people. There's such a bubble on the internet. There's such a bubble, and so many people are trapped in it. So many people can't think outside the parameters of that bubble, and I see that all the time, and it's crazy. It's mind blowing. I mean, because I've been there and I've seen it for so many years, where you meet people in the street and they have no idea about anything online, anything chronically online. I mean, obviously, social media being such a big deal for wrestling promotions helps it, because it helps you get to new fans. It helps you get to new people, but also you're dealing with a niche audience. I think AEW, I think they're promoting to like a minority audience in the big scheme of things, like the sickos, the people that love wrestling through and through and through. And that's fine. And at the end of the day, Tony Khan, it's his money and it's his company. He can do whatever he wants. It is what it is. But I do think to grow that out, wrestling is unlike basketball or baseball. Basketball, baseball, I mean, I don't know. Everybody's talking about football being worked with the Super Bowl coming up, right? But I mean, those are legitimate sports where there is no there is no premeditated winner. In wrestling, it's very different. And this is entertainment. I mean, when there's a premeditated idea of what's going on, that changes it, where there's still sports in it, but it has a different element. And I think just because of that factor, the entertainment aspect is important, because that is what really draws people in and invests them in it.
Right. But the argument that I'm making, that's not a comparison about how sports are consumed versus how wrestling's consumed. It's because sports are ultimately entertainment at the end of the day, especially professional sports. And the NBA is dealing with this problem right now, that people in the discourse of the sports world are like, NBA viewership is tanking because there's too many people taking threes. There's not enough defense. The superstars are crybabies. It's the same thing as pro wrestling in that sense, where there's going to be some sort of an identifier that people are going to blame and say, oh, well, with AEW, they're appealing too much to the hardcore fan with hardcore wrestling, and they're not doing enough of this. Well, the NBA is having people just throw up too many three-point shots. The NFL has too many penalties, and therefore they're losing the casual fan who wants to tune in. This stuff happens across every single medium. And yeah, sure, football isn't predetermined in the same sense that pro wrestling is, but I don't think that this is a problem that is unique to pro wrestling and unique to AEW. And I think that we tend to overblow. I really do believe that we overblow just how saturated and inundated that conversation actually is, and what it matters and what it means.
I can't believe that basketball Twitter is in an uproar over too many three-pointers.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not even just basketball Twitter. I mean, this is like a major media conversation.
I'm sure.
NBA.
I want to get in basketball Twitter, because wrestling Twitter is so notorious.
NBA viewership is down pretty substantially this year, and there's a lot of conversation as to why. I mean, it was the same thing for baseball for so many years too. Baseball viewership was tanking. And then they said, okay, well, let's shorten games. The commissioner's not appealing enough to fans, to casual fans who just want to tune in and catch a quick ball game. So what'd they do? They ended up doing the stupid extra innings rule, and then they added the pitch clock, which I happen to like the pitch clock. But my point is that this stuff happens in every medium, and we can sit here and we can be critical and say, this is what you're doing wrong. This is why casual fans aren't listening. But I think that ultimately the fans that want to watch the product are going to watch if they feel what they're watching is good. If they enjoy what they're watching, they're going to tune in for more. That's what I truly believe at the end of the day.
I mean, I agree with that as well. I do not disagree in that statement at all. And I was just going to say, I got some compliments on this as well the next day, and actually the day of. I love when we have these discussions here on the pod, just because people say, like, you guys, you're the most objective, you're the most fair podcast there is out there. I love this, how we have two different perspectives on things and we talk about it, but we don't yell at each other. We don't insult each other. We have an actual discussion about it. It's nice to have friendly discourse. And that's what these discussions should be. And not everyone does that.
I'll just say that your skills have deteriorated due to your old ass age.
All right. It's all right. They're coming back very quickly.
That's true. They are.
You know,
We got Josh Henney tuned in via wrestling according to alba.com.
there he is.
I'm live here for once. He's Josh over here, longtime supporter of the podcast. He
Great supporter.
He drives across the country listening to our podcast every single week, driving trucks. So appreciate your long-time commitment to the extreme life of Matt Hardy.
Thank you. And Josh is a diehard listener. Every single week he listens. He tunes in. Actually said that he couldn't find it on ad-free shows this week, and he just was looking for it, and he found it just on our YouTube channel. So
there you go. Well,
he's dedicated, and thank you, Josh. We appreciate that.
Hey, speaking of YouTube, because we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week because the video hadn't dropped yet when we recorded, but our Googa video did finally drop on the Googa channel. This was so funny reading through so many of the comments. I'm sure you had a chance to scroll through some of them. What did you think of how the video came out?
I loved it, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Googa, what a great guy. We had a blast there. It was so much fun creating this content and just the concept, the idea of once we talked about bringing a table out and maybe putting someone through a table. There were several members of his staff. We had a guy who went through a table before and he watched, but you could just see in his eyes, he was colored with curiosity. He was, I want to do this, but he was nervous. And then his wife came out and his wife was looking at him, and we all know how that feels. He has a Hispanic wife like me. So his wife's looking at him, was like, you better not get hurt. You better not get hurt. So you could see he had the bug. And then he did that. He manned up. He had the guts. He had the nuts. And he went through a table, which was so amazing.
And he got color.
And I got to tell you, whenever he was showing me those tricks of, flipping the grill around and like cleaning off your spatula just so you don't get extra stuff on the meat and cooking it through. I enjoyed doing that with him, and it was so great. Whenever we chowed down on that food later, I went nuts. I could have sat there and ate all day, man. It was so unbelievably great.
Yeah, honestly, you guys didn't even see a lot of the food elements of it. It was more pro wrestling centric, but we filmed a ton of food stuff too with it. And yeah, he got legit color.
Yeah, he did. He did get busted open whenever he went through the table. And it's funny, we kind of cleaned him off a little bit, but you can see it. There's a couple frames where you can see it, but he was real dedicated to it. He was all about it. And you could tell that he has watched wrestling in the past. Like, as we're talking about different moves, he said, so there's different levels of things. So if it just spears you on the run, it's one thing, but if he spears you and you're hanging off the ring with the titles, it's another thing. Or if he spears you from here, and he says, there's different levels to these moves. And it was so much fun. And what a great dude Googa was. What a pleasure getting to meet him and hang out with him today. We had just incredible and just such a kind, nice man. If you don't know who he is, Googa Foods is his main YouTube channel. He also has one, Googa, and he's all over social media. Is Googa Foods. Please support him and check him out, especially if you're into cooking. He's an amazing chef, and he does a bunch of real cool, fun, wild things.
Yeah, wild things. Is true. He does extreme cooking. Some of his experiments that he does, they're pretty out there and wild. He just did a video he dropped on his Googa Foods channel. He did a meat in Chick-fil-A sauce experiment. So he soaked chicken breast in Chick-fil-A sauce, and he soaked steak in Chick-fil-A sauce, and he smoked the chicken with the Chick-fil-A sauce on it, and he grilled up the steak with the Chick-fil-A sauce, and they did a taste test of it. And who knows, there could be more content to come in the future. They invited us back immediately. So I would love to get down there with you and Jeff. I think bringing Jeff there, he'd probably get a kick out of it all too. And we did drop a video on your YouTube channel as well, Matt Hardy Brand, of you chopping the shit out of his crew.
Yeah, we did. It was a fun little short. And really, like, I did. I was going to let those guys really, get a full-fledged chop. As it happens, there were a couple guys that one guy wanted to pull his shirt up. One guy put on 2 shirts and a sweater, and they were ready, they were prepared, but they got a pretty good taste of what the chop feels like.
It was cool because a lot of them were wrestling fans, and they're like, I never would have imagined one of the Hardy Boys just strolling through here. So that was super, super cool. They were great. They were awesome, and they were so accommodating. So thank you again to Googa. Hopefully we can get him on the podcast to talk about that and some other fun stuff. And
I would love to.
About how good he is at branding and YouTube. He's a master of YouTube. All of his videos take off and do great numbers. So he knows his shit, and we'd love to chat with him some more on that. Good stuff there. Oh man, we are in February here, my dude. We are in
Wow.
February, and we are trudging along here, and I can't believe it, but as we turn the corner in the post-Royal Rumble world, we are full-fledged on into the most important part of the social calendar, perhaps in the U.S., but especially the sports calendar. Matt Hardy, that is the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. Can't believe it is already here. This ain't the little itty-bitty, teeny, tiny bowl. This is the Super Bowl. What is this, 59? Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi Trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Matt, it's Kansas City, it's Philadelphia, it's another rematch. What are you thinking, man?
I got to tell you, man, if it's legit, if it is legit, I know there's been claims that maybe it isn't legit. Maybe they're going more of the pro wrestling technique. In some ways, I would like to see Kansas City win just because no team has ever three-peated, right?
No, and
is that correct?
Think correct, and think about it this way too, Matt. Like, we haven't seen a true dynasty in its most true form since the Patriots.
Right. So, in all honesty, Kansas City, they're a team which I'm okay with. I wouldn't mind seeing them three-peat.
Okay, all right. We'll see what you want to throw me a score.
How about we go with 31-23?
31-23. Okay, I respect that. That's a lot of points. I think that's a pretty good one. I'll go 27-23. And I'm going to say Philly actually gets the job done here with their defense, but I definitely think Kansas City is pretty fantastic too.
Yeah,
it's going to be an extravaganza as it is every single year, and we want to help you win some money on the Super Bowl. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Hardy. That's HARDY. That's code Hardy for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Matt, a lot of people were betting on the Royal Rumble, and we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about Jey Uso. We're going to talk about the Usos. But before we can, you know what I got to ask? Please, my friend, hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact. Matt prefers hotel rooms with microwaves.
You do some late night snackage?
Man, I have been inspired by Jeff Hardy. He's inspiring me again, my brother. Just how he has done that deal. So a lot of times, whenever we do these late night TNA post-show signings, we'll finish a show at 11 p.m. and then Jeff and I rush straight out there, and we'll be at the venue till 1 o'clock, 1:30, maybe even 2 a.m. Who knows? But our handlers, the people who are with us, are pretty good at taking care of us, knowing that we're not going to be able to get nice food, whenever we leave there. And sometimes they'll score us an Outback. And we'll get a filet, we'll get a sweet potato, we'll get a salad, and then we'll also get the seared ahi tuna appetizer. That kind of comes with what our deal is for the Outback. And those orders will be waiting on us. And I'll go back and I'll always eat portion of mine. Sometimes I eat all of it, especially if I'm starving and hungry. But that is the worst time when you're at an advanced age like I am. It's hard to eat all that food and then go straight to bed because that food just sits on you. Jeff is so dedicated. He will take all that food and he will put it in the fridge and then he will eat it for breakfast. He'll do it every time. He's done it the last 6 or 7 times, which is wild. I'll say, God, at least maybe I'll eat the tuna and the salad or whatever, and I'll warm up the other stuff. But I'm getting in much more of the habit of doing that now, and that's something I think has helped me even today. I was 202. I'm trying to cut out anything past 8 o'clock, and I have done that in the past. There's been times where I just have been on the road and I'm just like, fuck it, like I'm working hard. I need to reward myself. But I love having a microwave in the room because that makes it really convenient to be able to save food like that and then warm it up and then eat it right after you work out in the morning.
Yeah, there would have been some leftovers when you and I housed some PF Chang's before our live show, but
Ooh,
we were
boy.
starving, and there's no leftovers after that one. So.
Yeah, I was so tempted that day to get food for later to have that because I was like so hungry, but I did good. I went upstairs and went to bed on an empty stomach. That it was tough. I wanted to order some food to take away and at least put in my microwave and eat in the morning when I woke up, but I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't trust myself not to eat it that night.
I get it, man. Look, leftovers are the best invention in the world. So
Right.
About that. I say that all the time. I cook in bulk. That's how you save money on stuff. You spend more up front, but it pays for itself over the course of eating all the different meals. I always try to explain that to my girlfriend. I'm like, okay, yeah, I paid $24 for the salmon fillet, but when you think about it, individual price per meal, I'm getting 6-7 meals out of this. Then it's gonna pay for itself over what you would pay for one 100%. At a restaurant. So that's boy math. That's how we do it. People say girl math. That's boy math right there. Josh said every time he saw our pal Bobby at Ad Free Show's Top Guy Rumble this week, he said, well, hell, Bobby. Popped every time. There you go. Love to hear it. Okay, talk about the Rumble. We had two winners, Charlotte Flair, and of all people, Jey Uso. He wins the men's Rumble. Charlotte wins the women's Rumble. Pretty wild ladder match between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. DIY retains the tag titles over the Motor City Machine Guns. Man, what'd you think about all this going down and the individual Rumble winners in Charlotte and Jey Uso? We both kind of thought Charlotte had a good chance, but we did throw it out at our live show, and you'll hear it in the episode. We threw out the possibility of Jey Uso.
The very first name that was thrown out, and there was silence. Yeah. Nobody bought into it, but he was one person that I thought about. He was a great sleeper. I mean, he is his reactions are undeniable, and just the amount of investment that actual WWE fans have in Jey Uso right now, it's just, it's hard to question it. So he is someone that could have been a sleeper winner, no doubt, from the beginning. And in a lot of ways, I'm glad they pulled the trigger and he won.
Yeah, let's talk about these two winners. Charlotte, making her return, wins the Rumble, coming in. I believe she was number 27. I think I'll pull it up in front of me right now. But she wins the Rumble. Alexa Bliss came back to a huge ovation. What do you make of Charlotte, the Queen, returning to her throne here and being positioned in a major match at WrestleMania?
I'm okay with it. I mean, Charlotte is a major star, and the fact that she came back and won, it was really interesting. The next night after she won, I know there were some boos. There were some people that maybe rejected that because they want to see someone else who'd been there for a while doing it. But I totally get why they have Charlotte win. I mean, in some ways, that's why I predicted John Cena. I could see John Cena winning, and I think you're probably in agreement with me too. I think at Elimination Chamber, we probably will see John Cena get pushed that direction. But I think putting Charlotte in a match like that is just great for the equity of the match because it makes it a big deal.
Yeah, I imagine she ends up facing Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, which is a big match for Tiffany Stratton. There's a lot of comparisons between the two of them, and I think she would be positioned in a good spot there to go at it with Charlotte. Charlotte is a polarizing figure. She's a very polarizing figure. I don't think by any fault of her own. I think a lot of it is how she was booked under Vince and how she was kind of the female Roman Reigns in that sense. And that has garnered a mixed reaction from people. But she ends up getting the women's Rumble match. Jordynne Grace did show up. Did you get a chance to watch this Rumble match through?
I have not watched. I have not watched either of the Rumbles yet. I've just seen the highlights.
I was a little surprised that Jordynne Grace didn't get featured in a super prominent role in this match. She had a really cool spot with Piper Niven where she gave her a Death Valley driver, and people reacted pretty big to that. But they set up the Rumble there were a bazillion people in the ring towards the end, and Nia Jax eliminated like 7 or 8 at once. And in those 7 or 8, there were like 3 or 4 stars. And I feel like they kind of got lost in the shuffle. So I didn't love how that was put together, but I don't have an issue with Charlotte winning. On the men's side, we can get more into the nucleus of how the finish ended up shaking out, but a few notes from it. Joe Hendry gets his moment, and I'm sure this is something you were really excited about. What did you think of the reaction he got? I'm sure you saw the clip of it.
Yeah, I saw the clip of it. Super happy for Joe. I saw the interview he did too with Ariel, and I love the fact that he said he went back and he talked to these guys, and he even said he told Cena like he's trying to manifest this match with him, and he said everybody was good and they were trying to help him and just super professional. So I just love hearing that, man. I love that he had a great experience there. I've had a great experience with him. I enjoy him so much as a human being, and I think he is just so positive, so optimistic, and I think we really bond because of a lot of those factors. And the fact that Chris Jericho asked him in this interview, he said Chris had asked him to do his cruise, and he said, no, I don't want to. I'm going to put myself in Indianapolis just because I believe this could happen, and I want to be there. I don't want to take any chances and put myself anywhere else. I want to be in Indianapolis, because I believe this can happen. And lo and behold, it happened. So it's great. We were both super busy. I know the very first day on Friday at WrestleCon, the last acts left standing were Joe Hendry and the Hardys, both are TNA acts, which I'd like to throw in. Is very good on TNA, right? But so happy for Joe when he came out, and everybody knew his music. They were vibing to it. They were playing sing along, and he came out and he looked like a really big star. So good for him, man. What a great rub for Joe Hendry.
Could you see him taking in the moment when he came through the curtain?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Reminded me of what you said about WrestleMania 17.
Yep.
You never know when you're going to get that entrance again. So
yes, you never know. I mean, each one of those moments is special, and the older you get and the further in your career get, let them mean even more, because you never know when is going to be your last one.
He's really smart by bringing up this John Cena stuff over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what AJ the Costco guy was even saying about how when you're marketing yourself, you just have to keep repeating things, and you have to keep letting everyone know. Like when AJ was marketing that match against QT Marshall, he's like, at AEW Full Gear in Newark, New Jersey, I'm going to hit you with the power boom 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. Like he's telling everyone, this is why you need to care, because this is what's going to happen. And even in the post-match interview with Kathy Kelly, Joe Hendry's like, John Cena, I believe like this, like he's putting that into the ether. And I think it's going to happen in some format.
Repetition sells, man. I mean, it does. There's sometimes even in wrestling, it is great to utilize repetition over and over and over, and especially in this scenario, it works. I mean, that is how you drive a point home, and you embed it in people's minds.
I mean, when he was in the ring, did you see him in the ring with Roman Reigns? Did you see that?
I did.
Clip? Yeah. Crowd was there for it. They wanted to see it.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big endorsement. If I may say so myself.
100%.
What do you think of Braun Breaker's spear on I Show Speed?
It was great. It was so good. He just once again, I know explosive is the word that we like to say. He is just so explosive, and just the way he just he hit the ropes a couple times, and the guy was like half turned around. He just mowed him down, cut him in half. It was just phenomenal.
He's amazing, isn't he? I said it at our live show, I'm pretty sure. I truly do believe this guy is the most explosive athlete in wrestling history, like even more than Brock, which is wild considering how explosive Brock was. But just the speed at which Braun Breaker,
I mean, his speed's off the chart, man.
He's insane.
Yeah.
He truly is insane. But the one thing I noticed about the Rumble, I personally thought that it was a little on the weaker side of telling intermatch stories. We talk about a lot how like Rumbles can be broken up in chapters and you're following different character journeys. It was very similar to the Rumble we watched last week on our 2001 Royal Rumble episode, available extremehardy.com in the archives, where the big names were kind of stacked to the second half and the end of it.
It was definitely back-ended, no doubt.
And I felt like a lot of the storytelling was really wrapped around, well, we're just going to let these moments simmer and let guys stare. There were like 10 stare downs in this match. You had Roman Reigns and Joe Hendry. You had Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. You had CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And there's a credit to them where they've done such a great job at building equity in these main event guys. But it really felt like they were relying on that to carry the match. And I guess it worked because people were molten hot for everything that was going to happen here.
There's moments, man. Those moments are everything. The moments are more important than moves.
So John Cena gets eliminated by Jey Uso.
I do. I'm sorry. I want to cut in before we get past it because I know we're going to talk about that back end
Nope.
and the main eventers in the match. But I was super happy for Penta in this match too, because Penta he came in and he got that long ass run, and it was really a huge rub for him because he was like, if I'm not mistaken, he's the guy who survived the longest in the Rumble.
He did.
So that was a real cool deal, and that shows they have a lot of they really want to invest in Penta as well.
He did. I wish he did more in the match. That's my only complaint. Like, he lasted a long time, but I wish he had more eliminations or did more. Like, there is equity in going a long time in the Rumble match, but if you're not doing a ton in it, I don't know. I felt like there could have been even a stronger endorsement. The one standout for me, honestly, from this match, Chad Gable is just so the man. Like, he is so versatile and can go in there and play any role you want him to. He has the athleticism of Kurt Angle. He's got the comedic timing of some of the best comedy wrestlers in wrestling history. He is a legit badass who's so well-rounded. And I really hope, Matt, 2025 is the year that WWE puts some time into Chad Gable, because I think he's so deserving of it.
Yeah, I mean, I do not disagree. I think Chad Gable is extremely talented. He's a good employee, good dude, easy to work with, down for whatever. So yeah, I would love to see him get a strong long-term push and really utilized in the best way possible. I think he's someone deserving of it.
Would you like to see Alexa Bliss with the Wyatt Six?
I mean, in so many ways, that just, it feels correct. It feels like the right thing to do. You know, I know she came out and had the Fiend tease that said "Friend Forever" or what it was, Fiend, Fiend Forever, with the little writing on the jacket. I mean, she's just so closely tied to Bray. I feel like if they're going to tease that, even with her coming out and acknowledging Bray and the Fiend, I almost feel like that is the direction they're probably going to go in, and almost feel like it's the direction they should go in.
I would argue they kind of need her. The Wyatt Six has lost a lot of juice over the past 6 months, and if you watched her reaction, the fans went absolutely nuts for her. What do you like about her as a character, as a performer?
I mean, I liked her as a performer. I thought she was good, especially considering her background. You know, she wasn't like a long time diehard wrestling fan. But when she ended up doing it, she got a good grasp of it, and she worked really hard, got a good look. And I think when she started doing the stuff with Bray, when she was working with Wyndham, I just think her ability to kind of change gears and go darker and be a different character and be something, that would fit into a more serious version of the Broken Universe was really cool. And kudos to her for doing that. So I love that she showed that sort of, she showed that depth to be able to work another character like that. So I think if we could go back to that, and once again, it's another tip of the hat to Wyndham and his legacy and what all he's done. And I think putting her with the Wyatt Six would obviously help them and give them a boost that is kind of needed now.
Okay, let's talk about the end of this men's match, and we'll spend time. I think we might even be able to get a future Usos specific episode out. I want to talk about Jey specifically here and the end of the Rumble, because this was a pretty significant. This was a pretty significant event that happened here. I think a lot of times, Matt, in wrestling, a guy will get really hot and they get pushed to a certain extent, but they never get the full backing. They never get the full foot to the pedal support from the powers that be, and they don't get the opportunity.
They get Wardlow?
What's that?
They get Wardlow?
They get Wardlow. They get Zack Ryder. There's a lot of different comparisons you can make.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green was amazing in the Women's Rumble. She is a top tier talent as far as I'm concerned.
I loved when Zack Ryder was doing the Z Long Island story, and when I'm just trying to get over when he was on the fence. I'm just trying to get over. I'm trying to get over, and he couldn't get over that fence.
But so guess what? Man. They didn't run with him, right? Like they pushed him to an extent, but they didn't run all the way with him.
I'll be honest. The regime there, especially with Vince, they would kind of be upset if you got yourself over and they didn't get you over, and they would hold a bit of a grudge in that. And that's 100% what happened with Matt Cardona.
Yeah. So he only
speaking from experience, I can comment on that.
Well, what did you feel Vince got most mad at you for getting over on your own?
When he had to rehire me and give me a raise whenever I came back, you know what I mean? Just the fan, the fan base was so behind me, and they turned, anti-WWE and it is what it is, And I look back at that. I didn't handle everything right, but I got myself in a position to. There was a big bidding war for me, where I could have gone to TNA or WWE, but I knew I was gonna eat it. I'd been around long enough, and I was smart enough to know that there was gonna be some blowback on that, and there was, and it's all good.
20 years ago, Matt. 20 years.
20 years. What's 20 years? We'll talk about it. It'll be 40 years and 20 more years from now.
That's a fair point.
So does me, Maxwell, and Wolfie are the trios champion.
The trios. The Freebird rule. You guys
can't wait to stand on the apron and watch them do these amazing bumps.
There you go. Nice and easy. So this Rumble comes down to John Cena, Jey Uso, and Logan Paul. What do you think about those three as the final three in terms of trying to cast doubt as to who can win?
It was a very smart move putting John Cena in there. I think Logan Paul was a pretty amazing wild card. Let's go back. Who were the final five? Do you have that? When were Punk and Roman out?
Well, Logan Paul eliminated CM Punk. Well, so CM Punk eliminates Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Okay. And then right after, Logan Paul eliminates CM Punk. So all three of those guys were eliminated fairly quickly. They were eliminated. I'm trying to see the order of elimination. They were eliminated pretty late in the match.
And was that after that? Is that where Seth did the double stomp?
Yeah, they did the storytelling after that.
Outside, yeah.
Seth destroyed Roman Reigns, and then he and Punk brawled.
Right.
So got to think a triple threat's probably coming there.
Yeah.
So Cena, Logan Paul, Jey Uso as your final three there. I feel like Logan Paul had that. You're like, man, I hate this, but I could see a world where Logan Paul wins this and challenges someone.
100%. Yep.
You have John Cena, who is a consensus top pick from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure a ton of people were thinking about Jey Uso. I think he was 20-1 odds. So if you did bet on that, you probably made a nice penny off of that.
Logan Paul, the top two by far. I asked people, almost every other person that came through our signing of the hundreds of people that we saw on Friday, and I just said, like, who you got winning the Rumble? And the two answers I got more than anybody else, it wasn't even close, was John Cena and CM Punk. That's the two people that people predicted would win.
Sure. So then it comes down to Cena and Uso. And they're fighting on the outside. John selling big. Jay selling like he's dead. Super kicks. T's and AAs. Jay slips through. And then he just pushes John. Just pushes John off. And all of a sudden, you got 65,000 people who are shocked. Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble. John Cena's path to the main event of WrestleMania will have to go through more challenges, which is kind of what I figured they would take that route with him. But Uso getting the W here. What does a Royal Rumble win do for someone like Jey Uso? And how does it change how he's viewed going forward as a character?
It's a big deal. It elevates him and it makes him seem like a legitimate single superstar. It makes him look like someone who's deserving of going into WrestleMania and being in a main event match. Once again, like looking back at it, if it comes down to John Cena and Jey Uso, if John Cena wins the Royal Rumble, he's already John Cena. He doesn't really gain anything from it. It's just, he's won another Rumble. Yay, John Cena. That rules. One last time.
This is his last one, to be fair, to play devil's advocate. It is his last one.
It is his last one, no doubt. But in the big scheme of things, that didn't do anything, and he's not going to be at the next year's Royal Rumble. Jey Uso, it takes him from here to here, and he is going to be in next year's Royal Rumble and the following year's Royal Rumble. He's got Royal Rumbles to come down the road, and you elevated someone to a top tier position. And if they can continue to deliver, if they can go to WrestleMania and deliver in a world title match and become the world champion, whatever else, you've got another big ticket seller who's a main eventer. And that's what WWE has been doing a good job of building these main eventers. Once again, when I wrestled Jeff at WrestleMania 25, if Jeff Hardy wins, he is already mega popular and loved. It doesn't really change. It doesn't make him more loved. It doesn't really change a lot about him because he's already been the world champion. But if Matt Hardy wins, it elevates him a whole lot, and it did. And I was gaining a ton of momentum until I broke my hand, and then I had my abdominal tear and everything else, and then I had to be off for a while. But at the end of the day, I get that. I mean, Jey Uso winning this does so much for him and elevates him so much. And once again, I've heard where Vince said it, and he's so right in doing that. He said, well, this guy really doesn't need it, but this guy, he does need it, and it's going to help them significantly. And there's times where he'd say that if we had a title run, we'd have a title run, it wouldn't be long. You guys don't need the title. You guys are already super fucking over. It's like, it doesn't make a difference if you hold the titles for, a month or if you hold the titles for 8 months. You're going to be super over, and that's not going to change because people love you already. And it's kind of the same mindset with John Cena. He's going to be loved the same. He's going to be super over. But now Jey Uso, they're like, holy shit, they're legit with Jey. They let him win. They're doing it. And, people who aren't thinking about that, like, yay, Jey Uso won. I love it when he does the yeet thing, and the whole crowd's doing it. And, just the fact that he has that crowd in the palm of his hands and they were so into what he's doing, run with that guy. And I commend them for doing such. Kudos to WWE for pulling the trigger and giving Jey Uso this opportunity. He is deserving of it. The crowd is into what he's doing. He's over. The criticism that he wasn't a great wrestler, bro, you don't have to be a 5-star wrestler to be over and go main event a deal at WrestleMania. I mean, you have to be over and you have to be a good quality wrestler. And Jey Uso is all those things.
Is Jey Uso a top guy in your opinion?
He absolutely can be. It's hard to break that mold from being a tag team. And I've said this before, I love now the fact that they're still in the same. I love that Jey and Jimmy are on the same page, with kind of what they're doing, as far as helping out Roman and back on good terms as far as the Usos and whatnot, but they're keeping him in a singles role. It's just so hard. The Usos, one of the most beloved tag teams in WWE history. When you have to battle like that, it's so hard to get over and to make things work because people are torn. They're conflicted because they love seeing you together. Jeff and I battle with that so much. I don't ever want to do that anymore. I know someone asked me, hey, do you want to wrestle Jeff again? No, not really. I don't want to do a heel versus babyface thing where there's a split. I feel like if we're going to do single stuff, I want to be kept separately. We can have each other's back, but that clashing head to head is brutal. It is tough because fans that love you as being an iconic tag team, they're very conflicted in it, and I think it's troubling. It just makes it harder to get over. The fact that Jey won this match, the fact that Jey is going to pick, and I would guess go against Gunther, that would be my guess at the end of the day. I think you're going to have a whole arena full of people wanting to see him overcome Gunther and become the champion.
What do you think about the fact that he's lost to Gunther a couple times, including right before the Royal Rumble, he lost clean as a whistle to him? And now he seemingly is going to challenge him again. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, I mean, that shows that he has an obstacle to overcome, and that's one of the most important things. I mean, that's something Gunther could say in his promo over and over on the way to WrestleMania is come on, you think you have a chance of beating me? Why didn't you pick Cody Rhodes? You've never beat me. I beat you here, or I beat you there, and I beat you right before the Rumble, and I could have beat you right after the Rumble, and I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. I mean, and Gunther's a badass. He can get that over, and there's legitimacy to it. So, yeah, I definitely think there is storytelling involved in that because now everybody wants to get behind Jey and they want to see him overcome this obstacle. And this obstacle is the killer named Gunther.
What do you think it says about Gunther that now 2 years in a row he's put in a position here at WrestleMania where He's going to be in charge of elevating a babyface to a pretty significant level. Last year was Sami Zayn with that Intercontinental Championship win. This year, presumably, it could be Jey Uso. I part of me would love to see a swerve and still see Gunther versus Cena because that's the match that I want to see. But
Yeah.
Presuming that it's him and Jey, what do you think that says about how they view Gunther?
I mean, it shows they view him as a top heel. It shows that they view him as someone who's worked solid. It shows that they view him as someone they trust to elevate a top tier babyface talent and put them with where they need to be. And I think the whole fact that he is going to be in there and he's going to be going against Jey and he's beating him, he has beaten him in the past. I think that speaks loudly because they're going to bank on this match a lot, and I think they're going to highlight that fact that Jey hasn't beaten him, that Gunther has dominated whenever they've wrestled in the past, and Jey has to overcome this, and they trust Gunther to go out there and have a great match and elevate this guy and bring him to the next level, help bring him up.
Gonna try to break in his chest with those chops, right?
Yeah, most likely, yes. Gunther's a hell of a chopper. I know he had that. You know, that was kind of his rep right from the jump. I remember we were on a European tour in 2018, 2019, whatever the year was. And I remember he was there and some people were like, oh, damn, dog. I think it was Archer. They said, yeah, man, I wrestled him. Dang. He said he was good, man, but damn. He said, man, when he chops, you shit. You know, like he'll lay those chops in.
Certainly so. I mean, you don't want a broken chest around these parts, especially because you're trying to make sure your dick's not broken either with BlueChew. And here at the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, we are making sure that your little fella there is saying yeet whenever he gets the opportunity to. Have better sex with BlueChew. BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection-enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer-lasting erections for sexual activities. BlueChew is putting its money where its mouth is and offering you a free month. The process is simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you're going to receive your prescription within days. BlueChew tablets are made in the United States and prepared and shipped directly to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And the best part is, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting line at the pharmacy. Matt Hardy, if you were to draw number one in the Royal Rumble in your bed, BlueChew's going to help you go all the way and become an Iron Man, won't it?
Yeah, and instead of saying yeet or delete, you can just be saying compete, beat, you know, because that is what BlueChew is all about. It'll put you in the competition. You'll be ready to beat it up. Let's go.
Oh, you'll be competing, all right. I'll assure you that. So let's help you make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of BlueChew free. Just visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. I want to dig a little more into the whole singles element of Jey Uso because you talked about how they're a tag team, but it can be a really difficult transition to break out as a single star. Jey has come under a lot of criticism this week. You alluded to it before for his in-ring acumen per se. And, you know, this is coming from criticism from a lot of people who have never stepped foot in a ring. Of course, I would like to add that. But a lot of his matches are fairly straightforward. They're in a similar mold, but there have been a lot of wrestlers in wrestling history who have been cut from that same cloth. I mean, what do you think about him as a singles wrestler itself? Like talking X's and O's, meat and potatoes here.
I mean, I think he's good. I like him. I enjoy him. And I think at the end of the day, too, the most important part is just that he is over. Like, people give a shit about him. They care. He is a great enough wrestler to go out there and have these very solid matches. And people that are looking for, you know, the cage match high rating or whatever it is. I mean, at WWE, that they're in the business of entertainment as well. Like the quality of that match is not the end all be all, the be all end all. The most important thing is that it is a solid match and it is entertaining.
Do you see any, because I saw there was a Twitter thread about this and it did make me think a little bit. Do you see any parallels between his rise and Jeff's rise as a singles talent?
Yeah, I did see some of that stuff too. Yeah, I mean, there's some similarities, and I think it's one of those things like where when a tag team splits, especially if they're both very beloved, and both the Usos were very beloved, both Jeff and I were very beloved, and then there's one guy that connects with the audience, or the office feels they connect with the audience a little better, and they start getting a little bit bigger of a push. I mean, it's tough for the other guy too to overcome that, but they still are popular. I mean, but they can still do it on their own, and and there's been a lot of people that have proven that. Even myself and Jeff and Edge and Christian. They're both great examples. But it is. I think Jey has a very natural charisma to him. He has a connection with the audience, and when he comes out and when he's doing the stuff, the YEET and everything, they're having fun with him, and they're wanting to do sing along with him, and they dig it and they like him. And he really is. He's a cool cat. Both the Usos are, man. Both the Usos are real cool ass cats, man. I'll never forget. I know we're not doing an Usos episode here now, but just whenever we were going to wrestle them that Tuesday, there was talk we'd heard, the day after Mania, the last Mania I think I was in, which was 35, that there was a four-way idea about us being in a tag title match with the Usos in there, maybe even winning. That was kind of on the table for WrestleMania, but it didn't end up materializing, right? So then that Tuesday on SmackDown, they came out and said, "Hey, it's us tonight, guys. We're wrestling a tag match." We're like, "Oh shit, that's cool." They said, "This is like this is a match we've been thinking about doing forever, man. Since we were little kids, we wanted to do this match. We're so excited, man. It's gonna be great because you guys are up." And we're like, "What?" Okay, but they just kind of threw that out there. It is what it is. And Jeff got hurt shortly thereafter that. I want to say we worked them the following weekend on all the house shows. And that was about all that we'd worked with them. But just looking back in hindsight, man, both those guys are talented, and they're both very different. And I think it's probably even more difficult when you're twins like they are than myself and Jeff, who don't look exactly the same. We do have very differing features. It's probably even more challenging. But, hats off to Jey Uso for getting himself over like that. Hats off to Jimmy, too, because he's done a hell of a job, man. He got himself over, and he's done great stuff, too. They both have been killing it. And the fact that Jey is so over, he's got such an entertaining persona. He's got a gig down. He's got a chant that people love. The whole arena is vibing to it. And, I mean, that's undeniable that he's a guy that you want to try and manufacture into a main event ticket seller.
Well, and again, the idea here is you're trying to make as many main eventers as possible. Right?
Yes.
Like that's how you keep your business healthy. That's how you keep your promotion healthy, where you can lean on a bunch of different guys at any given moment to conceivably be in the main event. And I know there are people who are upset about Jey being in this position and potentially being a world champion, and I say this respectfully to some of the people I'm about to mention here, because I have nothing against them as individuals or performers, but there have been people way less over than Jey Uso who have become world champions. I mean, take Jinder Mahal, who you and I both enjoy. We both like Jinder. We both would never hinder Jinder. But that was something totally out of left field. He was doing enhancement talent work, and then 2 weeks later, he's WWE champion. So if a guy like that can become world champion and pushed at that level, why not take a chance on someone who is garnering authentic, real reactions from people where they feel with everything he's doing? Did you see Jay's promo on Raw?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I mean, it was very real, and that's probably exactly what he needed in that moment. I was, all teared up and very emotional. Like it seemed and sounded very real. And a lot of times, the greatest way to connect with people and for them to feel you, to be emotionally tied in and invested into the character, is for them to be real and for them to feel they are, displaying this true emotion and showing how much that meant to him. And the fact that he was doing this, and it's real important that he wants to prove that he deserves in his family and everything else, and now it's for his family. So I thought it was good. I thought it was very authentic, man.
What do you think of Kishi being left on the outside looking in here, not being given the Iggy that Jey was going to win?
I'm all about it. That's the way to do it.
How do you think he feels about this, knowing him as well as you do?
How do I think Kishi feels about it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It probably made him all the more happy, because he thought, like, when he didn't hear that, he just probably thought, okay, well, it's going to be Cena, Zena's going to, he's, dump me out, and he's going to dump my kid out. Oh shit, he dumped Zena out, so I'm sure he was tickled, man. And probably one of those things too, like, I would almost guess that Jey, I almost guess that he didn't want to hex himself either. You know what I mean? He's just like, well, let's go ahead. Let's just get it done. And then, if I win, I win, because you never know. Things can change at any moment. Up to that last second, until John Cena's feet hit the floor, anything can change.
Well, there's that famous story from Mania 31 where the Wild Samoans were under the impression that Roman was going to win the title from Brock, and they're ringside, and 45 minutes before the match, Vince makes the call to have the Seth cash in, and the Samoans were not too happy about that after that all went down. So you don't want to set up expectations. One more Rumble note I'll ask you about before we bounce here. The ladder match, Cody, extremely physical ladder war with Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens does lose here, and seemingly setting up another program with Sami Zayn here in the package pile driver. These two are destined to fight forever.
Yeah.
What do you think of KO and Sami potentially having another Mania match here under totally different stakes from what we saw last time around?
I'm okay with it. The fact that they have this true frenemy relationship more than anybody else, they can be as close as they can. They have this amazing history of teaming with one another. They have this amazing history of trying to beat the shit out of one another. I'm here for it, especially if the story's good. And I really love the stuff that KO has been doing recently. I thought he has been tremendous as the villain in the story.
Certainly has. They could be in Elimination Chamber in Toronto. They could be at Mania. We'll see where that story goes. It's pretty nuts to see all those pieces coming together for WrestleMania. So I think right now what we're looking at, I think it's going to be Jey Gunther. I think it's going to be Roman Punk and Seth Rollins. I think it's going to be Cody and Cena. I think it's going to be Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte.
Yeah.
My gut says Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. That's a pretty top-heavy WrestleMania card right there. What do you think of how that's coming together?
Yeah, strong. Lots of a lot of main event matches in there.
Is there an intrigue to that triple threat match for you, rather than a singles match?
I mean, there is just because they're all such big stars, and the three of those guys could put together, what the kids call a banger. I think when it comes to a three-way.
I think Seth could add some explosiveness to it. Josh wants to know. I don't know if did you see any of the ladder match clips? Or
I did not. I saw a couple of the clips, but I did not see the match.
He has thoughts on the selling Kevin Owens to going through a ladder. Listen, man, when you take an Alabama slam off a table through a ladder, I don't think you got to do a whole lot of selling. Probably hurts like shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Any insight you can provide there?
Yeah, I'm sure that was rough. I'm sure that was brutal. So I saw Kevin did it up real big. There was he was bleeding. He was on the verge of death at the end of the match. So it seemed like it was a really brutal physical exchange.
We call that Googa color around these parts. The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy that he had. Anything else you want to say about Jey here?
No, man. Just very happy for him, man. Very, very happy Jey Uso got that opportunity to win the Royal Rumble, and really excited to follow his journey through WrestleMania.
We hope you follow our journey here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Advertisewithhardy.com is where you want to go promote your business to the extreme by getting it out in front of thousands and listeners and viewers every single week. That's advertisewithhardy.com. We had a great time at our live show in Indianapolis. Guess what? It's not going to be the only live show that we do here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy in 2025. We're coming to your neck of the woods. And if you want to see us come to your neck of the woods, let us know. Send us one of them ZEETs at Matt Hardy Pod, at Matt Hardy Brand. Let us know where you want us to come to bring the Hardy Party. Yeah.
Zeet.
We'll bring the Hardy Party to your neck of the woods. It'll be a lot of fun. And I'm trying to line up a big one at the end of the year in the Northeast. That could be a lot of fun. I'm trying to line up a few in the Northeast. That could be a lot of fun. So be on the lookout for that. Anything else you want to add on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, Matt?
No, man. Thank you guys that tune in each and every week, and hope you enjoyed it. And please comment on our YouTube channel, tweet us, write a comment, Instagram, whatever. Let us know what you think of these episodes. We love getting your feedback. I can't get enough of it.
We certainly do. The words have been spoken. We'll see you next week right here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Dolly!
My skin's dying because you're under it. As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out. No house payments for 2 months at SaveWithConrad.com. NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.